Welcome to the Graybeard Chronicles podcast. Your hosts, Brian Halstead and Kevin Harkins, are two gray-bearded patriots who love God, their family and friends, and their country. The Graybeards are here to inspire, inform, and educate you on a myriad of topics they are passionate about. Brian and Kevin have a strong desire to share this with you to help you live your best life. Sit back and enjoy this amazing podcast as the Graybeards pass along the wisdom of the ages.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Graybeard Chronicles. I'm Brian Halstead.
And I'm Kevin Harkins.
And Kevin, we're here to pass along some wisdom of the ages. What the heck does that mean?
We're not perfect, but we do have gray beards. And that means we've got some significant life experience, some life lessons, and some perspectives that are worthy of passing along.
Well, I think that sums it up nicely. Let's get to it. Kevin, what's going on, man? Nice to see you in person.
To it.
Yeah. I'm glad you moved that microphone at the last second, because it was like somebody was holding a microphone to your throat.
It was right up on me.
Yeah.
I'm glad I moved it away a little as well.
Yeah. You look much more comfortable now. You kind of look like
I was kind of sitting
have your throat
attention.
cut by a microphone.
Right. It was gonna be purposefully right there.
Yes. So what's going on, man? It's been a minute since we've been in each other's physical presence. We've been doing remote recordings here the last at least 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
It's nice. Glad to be all caught up, knowing how you're doing.
Yeah.
Congratulations on all the positive developments in your life.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. All right.
There you go. Well,
what's
yeah.
what's new and exciting in your world?
Oh no, all the same stuff.
Yeah.
Just living my life, doing my best.
Did you find anything in that Coke can?
I did find something in that Coke can, and I did want to use that as a prop for today's podcast. However, I came up with a better idea, so I'm putting that aside for that will become useful. And I actually have an idea for that. I was gonna pull the trigger on it, then I decided at the last minute, no, this other idea is better.
All right.
Okay.
I trust you, man. I trust you.
All right. I actually watched a documentary on Coke, the history of Coca-Cola. It's quite fascinating, and in preparation for a topic, and we'll have to do that at another time.
All right.
Okay.
Yep. He's dangling that carrot out there. We don't know what it is, but it's going to be good.
All of you stay tuned, because it's going to be amazing.
All right. We're going to hold you to that.
But I do have a question for you.
All right. Shoot.
You have a nice property here. You ever seen an oak tree?
I have.
You have?
There are several of them around here.
What do you think of oak trees?
I think they're pretty awesome trees. They're
where do they fall sort of in the spectrum of trees in your life, and that you're aware of, and in terms of how you view them, your view of their majesty and beauty and presence, because a tree has presence,
right?
Yeah. Where does it all fit together for you?
I'd say I mean, in Virginia in particular, there's a lot of hardwoods here in Virginia.
Yeah.
I think oak is one of the higher quality ones, and is most often harvested for various uses and so on. But they're a hardy tree, a stout, kind of a majestic tree. They're to be respected.
A good word. And the other thing, now that I tell you this, you're going to notice it. Oaks tend to grow straight more than other kinds of trees. They don't have all they'll have a branch.
You gonna dance for us over there? What are you doing?
I'm trying not to knock over my drink and all of that. So, but they which is why they're good for making tables and wood and various kinds of things that require longer pieces of straight wood.
Right.
And oaks do that well, apparently. So I think they're amazing. I love oak trees.
Yeah.
And especially when they become full grown. What do you?
I'm laughing because I know that you did not intend to connect these two stories. But the story that you told me earlier about having trees removed in a previous property that you own, and saying that you love oak trees,
I do.
And all the while you were removing oak trees at the time, and one of your neighbors who obviously needed a hobby in life was giving you a hard time about removing those trees.
For the record, they all weren't oaks.
Oh, they weren't all oaks, but some of them were.
Some of them were.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, and he was calling you out on it because the name of the street was Oak View.
Right. That's correct.
Yeah.
You're right. It has nothing to do with that. And
of course, we might have given it away now. And this guy that's been stalking you since then will find you and realize that you're talking trash about him on this podcast. It's all good.
It's all good. It's all good. Anyway, when I see especially a like full grown, full up, over 100-year oak, and you look at it, and if it's healthy and hasn't been pruned 10 ways to Sunday, because they are gorgeous, beautiful, majestic. That's the word you used.
Hey, think about all the things that tree has seen
and done.
Yeah.
What animals have walked beneath it? What birds have lived in it? Squirrels. You're right. It's amazing. So that's the end of the story. That's the end of the story.
What Civil War soldiers have camped beneath it?
Yeah, it's just that they're majestic, big, beautiful oak trees. And then in the fall, when the leaves start to turn and the colors, and they all fall, I mean, it's amazing. It's just absolutely gorgeous. They're gorgeous trees. So that for tonight's podcast is the end game. The beginning of the end game, of course, is the acorn. And I wanted to talk about from acorn to oak and how that metaphor applies to our lives.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. That was a cool topic. When you texted to me, I was like, that certainly has potential to be an interesting discussion. I like the idea of it.
So what are your initial thoughts about all this? Where do you think I was headed with this?
Well, I think that I don't know exactly where you were headed with this. And what came to mind for me is, you have that acorn, which is the byproduct of a previous oak tree.
Right.
It's a seed. And from that seed, an entirely brand new tree can grow, right?
Right.
And I kind of equate an acorn or that seed to the thoughts that we have in our brains and the thoughts that we have running through our minds on a regular basis, right? So every one of them is a seed that could potentially become a massive oak tree or a massive whatever we wanted it to be.
You bet.
It's limitless, right? And at the same time, we also have to understand that there are, millions of acorns that never turn into trees.
Right.
Just like there are going to be a bunch of thoughts that we have that are never going to actually manifest into anything because we either decide that, we didn't have a strong enough why to pursue it, or it just, we ultimately decide that wasn't something that we wanted to do. But yeah, it's cool when you think about it, that you have that many possibilities that are available to you at any given time just by, the thoughts that are running through your mind. And it's, you don't have to, you could, a lot of times we'll talk ourselves out of stuff because, you think about it and you're like, oh, well then I'll have to, if I want to do that, I'm gonna have to do this. I'm gonna have to do, and I think sometimes we get carried away and we talk ourselves out of it because we're thinking about the minutia of it too quickly. And, what we need to, the desire comes, right? And that understanding what it is you want to do, what that thought was, and then the desire has to follow that. And then, you're putting that energy out there in the universe and things will start to align and you have to, come up with the action steps that you need to, but it's a process and it doesn't happen overnight. And the cool thing is everything's available to you, and what you don't have right there at your fingertips, you attract to you to ultimately grow into that tree.
Very well said. And it's perfect. And so think about back to, I have so many thoughts that I'm having trouble getting them out. Yes, the idea for me, acorn to oak is you start with an idea, or it could be your life, but I'll deal with that in a minute. But first, it's an idea. You want to do something, just like you said. You want to pursue something. You have an idea to do something. The seed is inside, the husk, the shell. It's inside the shell.
Right.
The acorn falls to the ground, eventually, gets into the dirt, and the shell biodegrades, right? It breaks down. The protective shell, and then the seed is now seeing the light of day.
Right.
The seed, through its DNA and through the magic of nature, which is also amazing, because we're even more amazing than an acorn seed, we humans.
Right.
But
I'd like to think so.
But think about this. This seed senses the environment that it's in.
Right.
And it knows that it has to start doing something. It has to start putting out roots. It's in a certain environment, and it starts poking roots out in various directions. And what do those roots do? They start interacting with the environment at which it sits, right there, only in that one little spot.
Right.
So metaphorically, it's us. It's our ideas. We live in an environment, and something happens, and we start interacting right where we are. I'm not talking about making these leaps of progress. I'm talking right here, right in our sphere of influence, all of the things that we're doing. And then as the roots go out, they start to interact with the environment. They start to draw in the nutrients and the things that it needs. And this very slow process begins to, next thing you know, it pops a shoot that starts to grow up, and this process continues. And so it's a seed in a shell that starts to interact with its environment, and the small little bit of roots go out. And I think most people know, as it grows, everything that's going on above the surface of the ground is also going on below the surface. The root system of an oak tree is just as big below the ground as it is above the ground.
Right.
So all of this stuff is going in, and it's all interacting, and it continues to interact with more and more and more of the environment, which feeds it, which feeds your idea, which feeds your goal. And all of that, if it's properly tended to, ends up turning into this amazing, long-term, huge, big-time sort of contribution to the world, because oak trees, they have a role. They're providing shade. They're providing home. I see you thinking, so I don't know. This whole thing has got me.
So I love the way you're describing that, right? So the fact that it's the root system and everything is as large below ground as it is above ground. And what's going through my mind while you're saying that, it started out when you first described the seed breaking out of the shell and starting to spread out and interact and so on. So what's going through my mind when you're describing all that is our network.
That's
right.
It.
So
That's
our network of people, and the bigger it is here, the bigger it is here. Right. So, the larger, it's, you've heard the saying, the larger your network, the larger your net worth.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I just think it's neat to sort of think about that, and God has put into place this amazing thing. And when you break it down into its little pieces and think about how it turns into, and it takes, and this is the other things, today's day and age, we live kind of in this instant gratification society. We've talked about that several times before. I want it right now. But oak trees, they grow for hundreds of years. And so if you just allow yourself to continue to naturally unfold in areas that you love, and you allow the root system to continue to grow and build and move, then the tree continues to grow. And that tree serves a purpose, throughout the environment in which it exists. And it's just a really great metaphor. And so for we, the people, we think about, we have an idea, we have just our lives. Maybe it's our life. We just think about, I am this acorn to start out with, but I want to become an oak. I want to become one of these big, majestic, gorgeous oak trees that people walk by and go,
"Bam,
that's amazing." Right.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's pretty cool to think about. just all of the possibilities are it's limitless, right? So you come into this world as a blank slate.
Right.
What do you want it to be? What do you want this physical experience called life on the planet Earth to be?
Right.
You get to choose.
Right.
You get to create it.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do?
You get to create it. That's right. And the nice thing about us humans is we have the ability to have impact and control our environment to a much greater degree than an oak tree does. And so the potential payoff is even greater.
Right. As far as we know.
Right.
Right. I mean, that oak tree might be just thinking we're a bunch of dumbasses and they might be having parties and so on that we have no knowledge of.
Right.
Because we're operating on a complete different plane.
Right. You're right. That could be it. And, someday maybe we'll,
because what if time is an illusion?
Yeah.
You ever had that experience where you travel somewhere and then you come back and you're standing back at home and you've been gone for however long and it feels like you were just here? What if time were an illusion? Maybe that's a whole.
It might be. You're right. It might be a human construct.
Yeah.
That's right. And it's just illusionary. Yeah. You're right.
I don't know why I thought of that.
I don't know why
it just popped into my head.
I don't know. Maybe that's more like an oak tree thought than an acorn thought.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was planted there.
Right. There you go. There you go.
Good discussion, man. I like the whole concept of it. It's a great metaphor to use as a template to put onto your life and understand that your thoughts are the seeds of what you're able to grow.
Water it, take care of it, and allow it to turn into the beautiful, huge, majestic oak tree that it can become over time. And I love that. It's just, I think it's just a great metaphor for life. So there you go.
Outstanding. I will say no more.
Okay.
Except for the fact that I'm pressing that button over here and then I'm going to say something like this. No matter who you are, where you are, what you're doing, make sure between this podcast and the next, you take time to enjoy the ride.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Graybeard Chronicles. Please subscribe so you'll receive notification when new episodes are available. To learn more about the Graybeards, visit their website, graybeardchronicles.com.